In the land of Eridanus, a once vibrant realm now lay shrouded in darkness. Thick clouds of despair hung heavy in the air, casting a pall over the land and its inhabitants. From the towering mountains to the sprawling forests, every corner of Eridanus echoed with the whispers of fear. At the heart of this darkness lurked the malevolent force known as the Void, a primordial entity of pure malice. It hungered for power and sought to bend the world to its will. Its tendrils crept across the land, corrupting all in their path and plunging Eridanus into an age of despair. Yet amidst the chaos and despair, there existed a curious anomaly: humans. Unlike the other creatures of Eridanus, humans seemed immune to the paralyzing fear that gripped the world. Instead of cowering in terror, they stood tall, their spirits unbroken by the encroaching darkness. Among these humans was a young man named Kale. Born into a world consumed by fear, he possessed a resilience and determination that set him apart from his peers. Despite the whispers of doubt and skepticism that surrounded him, Kale harbored a fierce belief in the power of hope and courage. As the darkness continued to spread, Kale felt a stirring within him, a call to action that could not be ignored. With a steadfast resolve burning in his heart, he knew that he could no longer stand idly by while the world crumbled around him. And so, with determination coursing through his veins, Kale set out on a journey to confront the darkness, to defy the fear that gripped the land, and to become the beacon of hope that Eridanus so desperately needed. Little did he know of the trials and tribulations that awaited him on the path ahead. In the ancient scrolls of Eridanus, whispered legends spoke of a prophecy that foretold the coming of a chosen one who would defy the darkness and restore balance to the world. For centuries, these prophecies had been passed down through generations, instilling a glimmer of hope in the hearts of those who dared to believe. Among the most revered of these prophecies was the tale of the Celestial Guardian, a being of pure light, destined to rise in the darkest hour and vanquish the forces of darkness. Many dismissed these tales as mere myths, but as the shadow of the Void loomed ever larger over Eridanus, whispers of the prophecy grew louder. It was said that the Celestial Guardian would be marked by a symbol, a radiant sigil that shone with the brilliance of the stars. This symbol would be the harbinger of hope, the beacon that would guide the chosen one on their journey to fulfill their destiny. As the darkness tightened its grip on the land, hope seemed to wane with each passing day. Yet amidst the despair, there were those who clung to the belief that the prophecy would one day come to pass. They searched the faces of every passerby, hoping to catch a glimpse of the chosen one who would deliver them from the darkness. Unbeknownst to the fearful inhabitants of Eridanus, Kale bore the mark of the Celestial Guardian, a radiant sigil etched into his flesh, unseen by all but the most perceptive eyes. Though he remained unaware of his true destiny, the whispers of the prophecy echoed in his heart, igniting a spark of determination that burned brighter with each passing day. As Kyle ventured forth on his journey, guided by a sense of purpose that transcended fear, he could not shake the feeling that his path was inexorably linked to the ancient prophecies of Eridanus. Little did he know of the trials and tribulations that awaited him on the road ahead, or the pivotal role he would play in shaping the fate of the world. In a remote corner of Eridanus, nestled amidst towering cliffs and dense forests, lay the humble village of Oak Ridge. Here, life moved at a slower pace, untouched by the turmoil that gripped the rest of the world. Yet even in this idyllic haven, whispers of fear and uncertainty seeped through the cracks, casting a shadow over the once peaceful community. Among the villagers of Oak Ridge was a young man named Kale. From a young age, Kale had been marked as different, a curiosity among his peers and an enigma to his elders. While the others cowered in fear at the mere mention of the Void, Kale possessed a resilience that bordered on defiance. Raised by his grandmother, a wise old woman with a twinkle in her eye and a heart full of stories, Kale learned the value of courage and determination. From her, he heard tales of legendary heroes who had braved the darkest of nights and emerged victorious against all odds. Inspired by these stories, Kale harbored a longing to prove himself, to prove that even the most unlikely of heroes could rise to greatness. Yet despite his dreams of heroism, Cale remained an outcast among his own kind. His unwavering resolve and refusal to succumb to fear set him apart from his peers, earning him both admiration and scorn in equal measure. Many whispered behind his back, casting doubt on his sanity and questioning his motives. But Cale paid little heed to the whispers of the villagers. In his heart, he knew that his destiny lay beyond the confines of Oak Ridge, that he was meant for something greater than a life of quiet conformity. And so, with a sense of purpose burning in his chest, he set out on a journey to seek his fortune, determined to prove himself to the world and carve out his own destiny. As he left the familiar comforts of Oak Ridge behind, Cale felt a sense of anticipation coursing through his veins. Though he knew not what trials awaited him on the road ahead, he faced the future with a courage that belied his years, ready to embrace whatever challenges fate saw fit to throw his way. Little did he know that his journey would lead him to the very heart of the darkness that threatened to consume Eridanus, and that his actions would shape the course of history for generations to come. As Cale journeyed through the rugged terrain of Eridanus, each step brought him closer to his destiny. The road ahead was fraught with uncertainty, yet he pressed on with a determination that burned brighter with each passing mile. Along the way, he encountered fellow travelers, some friendly, others wary, but all bearing their own burdens and stories to tell. One chilly evening, as Cale sought shelter beneath the canopy of an ancient oak tree, he felt a strange sensation wash over him, a tingling in his bones, a whisper in the wind. Closing his eyes, he listened intently, sensing something stirring in the depths of his soul. And then, it came, a voice, soft yet commanding, echoing in the recesses of his mind. "Cale," it whispered, "your time has come. The world cries out for a champion, and you are the one who will answer its call." Startled yet undaunted, Cale rose to his feet, his heart pounding with a mixture of fear and excitement. Could this be the moment he had been waiting for, the moment when his destiny would finally reveal itself? With a sense of purpose burning in his chest, Cale followed the voice, allowing its guiding presence to lead him deeper into the heart of the forest. The trees seemed to part before him, their branches swaying in silent reverence as he passed. At last he came upon a clearing bathed in moonlight, where a figure awaited him, a radiant being cloaked in shimmering robes of silver and gold. Their eyes glowed with an otherworldly light, their presence filling the air with a sense of awe and wonder. "Cale," the figure spoke, their voice resonating with power and wisdom. "You have been chosen to undertake a great quest, a quest to confront the darkness that threatens to consume our world. Will you accept this challenge and become the champion that Eridanus so desperately needs?" For a moment, Cale hesitated, his mind swirling with doubt and uncertainty. But then he looked into the eyes of the celestial being before him, and he knew what he must do. With a determined nod, Cale accepted the challenge, ready to embark on a journey that would test his courage, his strength, and his very spirit. As he gazed up at the stars twinkling overhead, he felt a sense of peace wash over him, knowing that he was not alone, that the universe itself was guiding him on his path. And so, with newfound resolve, Cale set forth into the unknown, ready to face whatever trials awaited him on the road ahead. Little did he know of the adventures that awaited him, or the role he would play in shaping the fate of Eridanus for generations to come. As Cale journeyed deeper into the heart of Eridanus, he encountered beings both friend and foe, each with their own stories to tell and agendas to pursue. From the mystical elves who dwelled in the enchanted forests, to the fearsome creatures corrupted by the darkness of the void, every encounter tested Cale's courage and resolve. Among the first allies he encountered were the elves of the Silverwood, guardians of the ancient forests that whispered secrets as old as time itself. Led by the wise Elderwood, the elves welcomed Cale with open arms, sensing within him the spark of destiny that burned bright. Under the guidance of the elves, Kale honed his skills in the art of swordplay and magic, learning to harness the elements and channel the power of the natural world. With each passing day, he grew stronger and more confident, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. But not all those he encountered were allies. Along the way, Kale faced adversaries both human and monstrous, corrupted by the darkness that gripped the land. From bands of marauding bandits to twisted creatures spawned from the depths of the void, each confrontation tested his mettle and pushed him to the brink of despair. Yet through it all, Kale remained steadfast in his resolve, drawing strength from the knowledge that he fought not only for himself, but for the people of Eridanus who looked to him as their champion. With every victory won and every challenge overcome, he grew closer to fulfilling his destiny and vanquishing the darkness that threatened to consume the world. As he journeyed onward, guided by the whispers of the wind and the light of the stars, Kale knew that the road ahead would be fraught with peril and uncertainty. But with allies at his side and the courage of his convictions burning bright, he faced the future with a sense of hope and determination that could not be extinguished. And so he pressed on, ready to face whatever trials awaited him on the path to his destiny. As Kyle ventured deeper into the heart of Eridanus, he encountered trials that tested not only his courage and resolve, but also his physical strength. In the rugged terrain of the mountains, he faced challenges that pushed him to his limits and forced him to confront the depths of his own power. One such trial came in the form of a towering colossus, a creature of stone and fury that guarded the entrance to a hidden valley. Its massive fists pounded the earth, sending shockwaves rippling through the ground as it roared its challenge to all who dared to approach. Undeterred, Kale squared his shoulders and met the creature head-on, his sword held high and his resolve unshakable. With each blow, he channeled the strength of his ancestors, drawing upon the primal forces that flowed through his veins. The battle raged on for hours, the clash of steel against stone echoing through the valley as Kale and the Colossus locked in a fierce struggle for supremacy. With every strike, Kale felt the weight of the world bearing down upon him, yet still he fought on, driven by a determination that could not be quenched. At last, with a final, desperate blow, Kale struck true, shattering the Colossus into 1,000 pieces and sending it crashing to the ground in a cloud of dust and debris. As silence fell over the valley once more, Kale stood victorious, his chest heaving with exertion, yet his spirit unbowed. With the path now clear, Kale pressed onward, his resolve strengthened by the knowledge that he had faced his fears and emerged triumphant. Though the road ahead would be long and treacherous, he knew that with each trial he overcame, he grew closer to fulfilling his destiny and bringing an end to the darkness that threatened to consume Eridanus. And so, with a sense of purpose burning bright in his heart, he set out once more, ready to face whatever challenges awaited him on the road ahead. As Kale journeyed deeper into the heart of Eridanus, he encountered trials that tested not only his strength, but also his intellect and wisdom. In the ancient ruins of a forgotten civilization, he faced challenges that required cunning and insight to overcome. Among the ruins, Kale discovered a labyrinthine maze, its walls adorned with intricate carvings and mysterious symbols. Each twist and turn seemed to lead him further into the depths of the labyrinth, where hidden dangers lurked around every corner. With his wits sharpened by experience and his resolve unwavering, Kale pressed on, determined to unravel the secrets of the maze and emerge victorious. Along the way, he encountered puzzles and traps designed to confound the unwary, yet he met each challenge with a calm determination and a keen eye for detail. At last, after what seemed like an eternity of trials and tribulations, Kale reached the heart of the maze, a chamber bathed in an ethereal light, where a riddle awaited him, written in a language long forgotten by the world. With a furrowed brow and a thoughtful expression, Kale pondered the riddle, drawing upon all of his knowledge and experience to decipher its hidden meaning. And then, with a sudden flash of insight, the answer came to him, a simple yet profound truth that had eluded him until that moment. With a sense of satisfaction, Kale spoke the answer aloud, and as the last echoes of his words faded into the darkness, the chamber began to tremble, and the walls of the maze began to shift and change. With a final burst of energy, Kale dashed through the maze, narrowly avoiding collapsing passages and deadly traps until he emerged into the light once more. As he stepped out of the ruins and into the open air, Kale knew that he had passed yet another trial on his journey to fulfill his destiny. Though the road ahead would continue to test his courage and resolve, he faced the future with a newfound confidence, knowing that with each challenge he overcame, he grew stronger and wiser, ready to face whatever trials awaited him on the path ahead. And so, with his head held high and his heart full of determination, he set out once more, ready to confront the darkness and bring hope to the people of Eridanus. As Kale journeyed ever closer to the heart of darkness that gripped Eridanus, the air grew heavy with anticipation. He could feel the weight of the world pressing down upon him, urging him onward toward his destiny. With each step, the sense of foreboding grew stronger, yet so too did his determination to confront the source of the darkness and bring an end to its reign of terror. At last, after countless trials and tribulations, Kale reached the culmination of his journey, a towering fortress that loomed like a dark shadow against the horizon. Here, at the very heart of the darkness, he knew that he would find the answers he sought and the ultimate challenge that would test his courage and resolve like never before. With sword in hand and heart ablaze with determination, Kale stormed the gates of the fortress, his eyes ablaze with righteous fury. Yet as he crossed the threshold into the darkness within, he felt a chill run down his spine, for he knew that he walked now into the heart of the enemy's domain. Inside the fortress, Kale encountered horrors beyond imagining. Twisted creatures born of the void's corruption, their eyes gleaming with malice as they sought to tear him apart. Yet with each foe he faced, Kale fought with a courage and determination that defied all reason, his spirit unbroken by the horrors that surrounded him. Deeper and deeper into the fortress he ventured until at last he reached the inner sanctum, a chamber bathed in an unholy light where the embodiment of the void itself awaited him. A swirling mass of darkness and despair, it loomed over him like a specter of death, its very presence suffocating the air with dread. But Kale did not falter. With a defiant roar, he charged forward, his sword flashing in the darkness as he struck blow after blow against the shadowy form of his enemy. With each strike, he felt the weight of the world behind him, driving him onward even as his strength began to falter. And then, with a final, desperate effort, Kale unleashed a burst of energy that seemed to shake the very foundations of the fortress. With a deafening roar, the darkness recoiled, its form wavering and flickering like a dying flame, until at last it vanished into nothingness, leaving behind only the echo of its defeat. As the fortress crumbled around him, Kale emerged victorious, his chest heaving with exhaustion, yet his spirit ablaze with triumph. With the darkness vanquished and the world bathed once more in the light of day, he knew that his journey was far from over. But with each victory won, he grew stronger, and with each challenge overcome, he drew closer to fulfilling his destiny as the savior of Eridanus. And so, with a sense of pride and purpose burning bright in his heart, he set out once more, ready to face whatever trials awaited him on the road ahead. With the darkness vanquished and Eridanus bathed once more in the light of hope, Kale stood as a beacon of courage and strength for all who called the land home. Yet even as the people rejoiced and celebrated their newfound freedom, Kale knew that his journey was not yet complete. For there remained one final task that lay before him, a task that would test not only his courage and resolve, but also his willingness to make the ultimate sacrifice for the greater good. In the aftermath of the battle, whispers began to spread among the people of Eridanus of a lingering darkness that still clung to the land, a remnant of the void's corruption that threatened to rise once more and plunge the world back into chaos. Though the darkness had been vanquished, its taint remained, festering like a wound that refused to heal. Determined to rid Eridanus of this final vestige of darkness, Kale embarked on a quest to seek out the source of the corruption and destroy it once and for all. With each step, he felt the weight of his burden growing heavier, for he knew that the journey ahead would be fraught with peril and sacrifice. Along the way, Cale encountered allies both old and new, each lending their strength and support to his cause. From the elves of the Silverwood to the humans of Oak Ridge, all rallied to his side, united in their determination to ensure that the darkness would never again hold sway over their world. Yet even as they journeyed deeper into the heart of the darkness, Cale could sense a growing unease among his companions, a fear that threatened to consume them from within. For they knew that to confront the source of the corruption would require a sacrifice, one that would test their faith and their resolve to the very limits. At last, they reached the heart of the darkness, a desolate wasteland where the very air seemed to crackle with malevolent energy. Here, amid the ruins of an ancient temple, they encountered the source of the corruption, a dark entity that hungered for power and sought to consume all that lay before it. With a heavy heart and a sense of grim determination, Cale knew what he must do. Drawing upon the last reserves of his strength, he confronted the dark entity, his sword flashing in the darkness as he prepared to strike the final blow. But as he raised his blade to deliver the killing blow, Cale hesitated, his mind filled with doubt and uncertainty. For he knew that in order to destroy the darkness, he would have to sacrifice himself, giving his life to ensure that Eridanus would be free from its taint forever. With a sense of resignation, Cale made his decision. With a final, desperate cry, he plunged his sword into the heart of the darkness, sacrificing himself to save the world he loved. As the darkness recoiled and vanished into nothingness, Cale's companions watched in stunned silence, their hearts heavy with grief, yet filled with gratitude for the sacrifice he had made. For they knew that though Cale was gone, his spirit would live on in the hearts of all who had been touched by his courage and his sacrifice. And so, as the sun set on Eridanus, casting its golden light across the land once more, the people mourned the loss of their hero. Yet they also rejoiced in the knowledge that his sacrifice had ensured their freedom and their future. And though Cale's journey had come to an end, his legacy would endure for generations to come, a testament to the power of courage, sacrifice, and the indomitable spirit of humanity. In the wake of Cale's sacrifice, Eridanus entered a new era, a time of peace and prosperity that had long been forgotten amidst the darkness that had once gripped the land. Though the memory of their fallen hero weighed heavy on the hearts of the people, they took solace in the knowledge that his sacrifice had not been in vain. In every corner of Eridanus, tales of Cale's bravery and selflessness spread like wildfire, inspiring hope and courage in the hearts of all who heard them. From the bustling cities to the remote villages, his name became synonymous with heroism and sacrifice, a beacon of light that would guide the people through even the darkest of times. Yet even as the years passed and the memory of Cale faded into legend, his legacy endured. In the hearts of those who had been touched by his courage and his sacrifice, his spirit lived on, a constant reminder of the power of hope and the resilience of the human spirit. And so, as the sun set on another day in Eridanus, casting its golden light across the land once more, the people looked to the future with hope and optimism, knowing that though darkness may come again, they would never be alone. For as long as the memory of Cale lived on in their hearts, they knew that they would always have a champion to guide them through the darkest of nights and into the light of a new dawn.